I want to speak to you today about praying with your family. One of the greatest joys that you'll ever experience is praying with your family. When my wife and I were first married, we spent a lot of time in prayer, and we started our marriage off by praying with one another. And it's been almost a half a century now that we've been together in marriage, and God is blessed. I believe that's one of the greatest things that we've done, one of the things that we started, a pattern in our lives that has helped us so much. And praying not just for your family, but praying with your family is very important. Now, let me explain to you why. I think there are three reasons that God wants us praying with one another. The first reason is this. First of all, it gives us and our families an opportunity to share our joys, our hurts, our difficulties. I remember when our children were just real small, we'd pray together at night before we would go to bed, and they would have things on their hearts and things that they were going through at school. And it gave them an opportunity to really talk about those things, not only with us, but with God. And together we would bring them to God, and it was so meaningful to my wife and myself, and it was so meaningful to our children. So it gives that great opportunity. But there's a second reason that I think praying with one another is very important. You see, when you pray with each other, what happens is that you really go deep. You really find out what's in a person's heart. In fact, I can say to you that some of my greatest friendships have been born in prayer meetings. And the reason is because when you talk to God, you really share with Him the deep things of your heart, the deep things that are in your life. And my wife and I, one of the ways we've grown close together over these past 50 years is by praying together, because there we reach deep into our souls, and God has really knit our hearts together, and our friendship. And by the way, marriage should be a friendship as well as a love relationship. And our friendship in marriage has grown because we've shared those deep things together with God. And then there's a third reason, and that is because it will affect future generations. I know that much of what has happened in our children's lives, and I love and thank God for them, for their lives, but I know a lot of it is because of praying for them and praying with them. And I know that they wouldn't forget that. I'll never forget, a few years ago, I learned about my grandmother. I didn't know much about my grandparents because they had died before I was born. But I learned about my grandmother and my grandfather, and they were godly, praying people. In fact, the only thing written about my grandmother was about her prayer life and how much she was a woman of prayer. And that just did something to my heart, because I realized that she left me a legacy. She left me something, the most valuable thing. They were poor, they didn't have a lot of money, they weren't wealthy or anything like that, but she left me the most valuable thing that anyone could leave their children or grandchildren. She left me an example of a praying woman. Oh, I want to be that kind of person with my children, with my grandchildren. I want them to know the legacy of having prayed with their father, their grandfather. Why don't you leave a legacy with your family? Start praying with them today.